Yes. We on point. All right, we in the building. Cool. That shit didn't work. All right, we back. I'm gonna let it fill back up. This shit is talking while I'm doing it. Cool. Had to go through and just erase, bring it back in. We all right. We understand that I've come to the point of understanding with my works, such as this, that when stuff like that happen, you know we about to do some real damage. But it's all about the Destruction Protocol, understanding ourselves, coming into ourselves, moving with ourselves, building with ourselves, learning ourselves. It's all in the aspect of the disperse of our energy, how we disperse our energy, how we move our energy into our space, and understanding what becomes visible. What becomes visible? All right. What becomes visible is based on set emotional channels. As y'all are filling in, I'm gonna let this shit do what it need to do. Now that shit working super fast. Everything want to move fast now. Let y'all fill in. No, I don't want that to be. There, make that this cool. All right. Put the new link up. Everything's in there. Yeah. Makes my head hurt sometimes. Let it fill up a little bit. Let it do what it need to do. As I send out these pieces to anybody that was coming in, didn't come in simply because of that. All right, everything's lined up. Everything's good. Oh my eye. Wash my locks today, so they real bouncy-ish. As I'm all right, send all that out. That's good. That's good there. Wait for it to fill. Let y'all get in the space. All right. Cool. All right. Stretch my legs. Crack the neck. All right. The Destruction Protocol. This dispersion, that prism, that light, that freak, are being in that certain frequency with ourselves, grooming into ourselves, growing into ourselves, becoming the greatest version of ourselves is only as deep as when I went on my walk today and I was thinking about inspiration. I went on my walk today and I was thinking about inspiration. I was thinking about the need, what inspiration is in that depth in the self, as opposed to you being stuck in this space with yourself of what inspired you before in your previous part of your career, of your life, your sentence, us being down here, as opposed to what's coming into our now. And it made me really think about the flaws, what would be considered the flaws in the human design when we study the Gnostic text. And I remember Bobby him always talking about from the putrid. And what happens for us a lot of times is based on what we're trying to put out, based on the space that we came from. Everything that we do in that space, as an example, use that as an example. You can learn the mechanics of your job. You can learn the mechanics of your job, be the best burger flipper, be the best forklift driver, be the best customer service rep. You can be the best at your job, period. Because there's a set of law, there's a set of rules, set of guidelines that you got to follow. But the aspect of what inspires you changes the narrative of the job that you're going to take on. Everything you doing down here, your body's doing the work. Like Carlo's doing the work. Papa Lucifer puts together all the stuff, and then Carlo goes out. I do the physical aspect. That's self-motivation. Bring yourself into this aspect of you being motivated. Self-motivation, self-sufficiency. All of these are based in that disbursement of your energy into that space. What becomes visible inside of your space is all based on these emotional triggers that if you have worked on, if you're doing the work with inside of yourself or you're not doing the work with inside of yourself. These are the aspects, this is the destruction protocol. We have to destroy shit in order to create shit. You're not going to get anything more from the space that you're in other than what you're getting from that space, because that space was created here on before based on pain. That space was created based on what you thought was love was manipulation. Most of the things that we get stuck in, we kill ourselves over and over and over and over again, trying to prove ourselves based on our identity, is based in what I have come to learn is this misogynistic complex. You like the way the pain feels. You like the addiction to the pain. That's why you stay in that relationship for so fucking long. That's why you stay at that job for so long, because the emotional aspect is what's inspiring you. Niggas ain't being shit. What inspires you to be the nigga, be the top nigga. But being bitches not being shit, women not being shit, but inspires you to be the best woman ever. But that's based on the emotional aspect. What happens when everybody steps up? If everybody were to step up and everybody was to step up around you, where would you find your inspiration now? Where would your inspiration come from? You built yourself in a space being inspired by others needing you, by others being your yes. They always saying yes to you. They're always accepting based on what they need from you. So you built your entire space, your entire mindset based on from that catalyst of your original traumas and events that you've been through, your past life, your past cycles into your present state. You built your whole inspiration, or you're aspiring to be simply not yesterday. You're simply trying to be, I'm not yesterday. I'm not that. Okay, cool. Yes. That's the first level of your aspiration. But when it comes to aspiring, when it comes to inspiration, all of these aspects are going into this factoid. Whoa. Don't do that. Oh, it's going to do something different. Let's do that one. Let's play with those. Yeah, play with that one. Like that. putting yourself into the space of what happens when that no longer is neat. What happens when that's no longer you? What happens when that's no longer you? You're focusing on your, I want to go here, I want to do this, I want to be this part in my life, I want to step into this place. You have to now change how you're dispersing your energy or this channel and understanding your emotional channels in order to step into that space. One of the biggest things for myself, just going through shadow work, then building after the shadow work and building into that LLC mentality that I go into, that we always going into, that LLC mentality. I had to find that, I had to admit to myself that my inspirations, what I aspired to be, was only based on my trauma. So as long as there was aspects of my trauma, things that I did not define in my past, in the healing process, on the internal of integrating with those shadows, if I didn't, then where would be my motivation into going into my day going forward? What would be my motivation? I'm super fucking driven. I went from being driven to being disciplined, because I learned that being driven in that aspect is, being driven is almost allowing my emotions to take the wheel, allowing my behavior to take the wheel. So I had to stop wanting to be so driven and understand that discipline is that true aspect. When I was thinking about being independent and being on my own, that meant that being independent was, I had to have something in my environment that had a dependency upon me being independent. So I had an example or that antagonist to me being pro and me being independent, me doing what I do. But when that antagonist was no longer visible, because I came to a certain space, when I came to a certain level with myself, then I noticed that my consistency went down. I felt like, okay, cool, I won. I can stop moving. I can stop running. I can stop running in the marathon. I can stop doing certain things. This is what happens a lot of times for us when we're moving forward. I'm at a point now with myself where it's like, I literally need no external drivers in that space. I don't search for things to set what I'm doing and be like, oh, I'm doing it right or I'm doing it wrong. I'm not looking for that. And this is a bigger factor for us in releasing from this need or this false sense of needing something to agree with us. One of the biggest things for me in that space was like, I always needed something to agree with me. And I was always stuck in this point of trying to convince others that this was the right way or you should do it this way, instead of actually accepting that if they were inspired or aspiring, they were inspired by something that I said, by something that I did. I have to respect the level that they're at and how they're using that spark. I have to accept where an individual is at in with their spark. Because when we don't do this, this is when we find ourselves trying to convert, and bring everybody into a certain space with us. They don't know. It doesn't matter but all the information is out there and nobody wants to listen to the information. Nobody want to read. Nobody want to study. Nobody want to do this, and this. That's cool. The real underlying reason to why you're so upset about it, why it's triggering you, why it's getting you upset, that's what you're searching for. That's what their purpose is. Everybody has an assignment. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has an assignment and a purpose. Everybody has an assignment. Everybody got a purpose. If you don't know, if you're not standing firm in your assignment, you're not standing firm in your purpose, you don't know your purpose, you're not doing your assignments, you're not learning your lessons, then you're always going to try to convert others in a state of distraction to try to get everybody to do what you're doing. And it worked at a point in time for you. Like a lot of times, and then that's what we deemed was love. A lot of the things we have to question literally everything. A lot of the things that we did was based on this aspect of we thought was love was manipulation through the aspects of lust. Because you have to define your necessities. My necessities for myself, for example, some of my necessities are waking up, me waking up, going to the gym. That ain't being stopped by nobody. Me working out is not me going to the gym per se. It's me working out at waking up at 5 to start my day so I can go do my workout. That's not going to be stopped by anyone at all. That's not going to be stopped by anyone. That is a basic necessity for me. In that being my basic necessity for myself, I define the lines of why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for an external aspect of I'm trying to get some gains. Why the fuck are you doing that? I'm not trying to do it based on I'm getting gains, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, I'm increasing my cardio. I'm not doing it for that purpose. When I go to the gym, it's straight fucking magic. It's the first beginning aspects of my magic in that physical space. That's straight gym alchemy. From everything that I'm listening to, from when I start my cardio in my first 15, 20-minute cardio, whatever binaural meditation beat I want to listen to, eyes closed, whether I'm listening to a Kundalini beat or I'm created something myself, whatever it may be, listening to affirmation, whatever it is, I'm putting that into my mind at first. When I start doing my workouts, whatever playlist my finger lands on, that's the playlist I'm playing for that day. While I'm doing my workouts, I'm telling myself I'm releasing the toxins and I'm releasing all that doesn't serve me. I'm literally doing that whole process. So by the time I leave the gym, if the sun's out, I'm looking into the sun. I feel I'm not on this level of I don't have to go look in the mirror. I'm not looking in the mirror because I'm not concentrating. That's not my primary focus. My primary focus is that I did my workout straight 45 minutes, programming myself in the first parts of my day. Nothing's going to stop that. That's a basic necessity for me. So now in my space, now that I've defined the necessity in my life, for me, the discipline that is for me, if something comes into my space, they have to accept that. That's not going to change. That is something that helps me expand. That is something that helps me heal, keeps me in my healing, that helps me grow, that gives me my aspects of motivation. That works for me. That hits all 5 of my senses. It's in there. That's my work. What happens to us for a lot of times is when we get lost, because I made that post, you're always in the proximity of being lost and found. You always in the proximity of being lost and found. You are the proximity. We are the proximity. You are always in the proximity of being lost and found. You are the proximity. So if you have a lack of discipline in your life, if you're lacking discipline, consistency, certain aspects, there's certain aspects of you are in the proximity of being lost because there's something that you have not worked on. There's something that you have not, there's older aspects, there's new aspects of yourself that you have not quite tapped into yet in a full sense. You're still looking at it from the external aspect, the old inspiration. There's something that is inspiring you based on the old aspects of yourself that no longer serves you in your current state. Like for me, 27 forever, just turned 36. Like I'm 27 forever. And that's the healing work for myself. I had to really learn what really love was for me, what loving myself was outside of the externals, only based on the basics, only before establishing the necessities, before establishing your necessities in your life, before yourself. You got to establish the boundless aspects of that the love, the limitless aspect of love, what love truly is. Because until you do this, it's going to be a state of manipulation. I'm gonna give you the aspect of how this person is in the manipulation. If my mindset was like, okay, cool, I go to the gym, or I go to the gym, let's say something off the wall. I go to the gym. Let's say I'm going to the gym. If I'm going to the gym based on looking good, to look good, the byproduct, to look better, to look good, to stamina up, endurance is up, and all of this nature, I now need to have correspondences because I'm not doing that from an internal sense. I now need correspondences in the external of my environment to make it why I go to the gym, to give me the inspiration to go to the gym. So that means when I go to the gym, now everything in every space that I go into is going to match that space in my environment. So if I'm going to the gym to look good, that means I'm at the sporting goods place. I'm over at the sporting goods place buying the best fucking hoodies, buying all this gear, and I'm trying to look good for the chicks in the gym because I want to look good. Okay, cool. So if I get their attention, that now becomes my energy. That becomes the catalyst of the energy that I'm going to use while I go to the gym. That emotional aspect, tapping into their emotions, their thoughts, the lower level of the frequency to use that energy while I'm inside of that space. So if they're not at the gym, then my workout's different. If this dude over here doesn't challenge me at the gym, then my workout's different. I'm allowing myself to be inside of an environment, and I'm allowing my environment to adjust me to fit the environment. So now my visibility in the environment is greater than the visibility of what I'm really trying to tap into. This happens for us, and a lot of times, like, we become so one-track minded that why don't you have $1 million? Why don't you have $1 million? Why don't you have $1 million? I have $1 million. I have $1 million. I know exactly where my $1 million is. I know exactly where my $1 million is. I know exactly how to attain my $1 million. I know exactly how to attain it. I know where it is. I know when it's coming. I know all that aspect because I let go of the expectancy. Here's why some people don't have it. This is why some not all don't have $1 million. Let's say you said on New Year's, you did a New Year's Eve ritual and you said you wanted to make $1 million. You wanted to make $1 million. You wanted to get $1 million, tap into $1 million. You set your ritual. You set it up. You burn it. You do everything you need to do. Got the candles lit. Everything going good. First month, you stay to that process of wanting $1 million, regardless. And also, because your subconscious, remember, it's the suggestion box. Regardless, when you stop saying it, it's still in your mind $1 million. Now you've invoked this energy into $1 million. Now you go your entire year. You go from January all the way to December. Everything that can stop you from making $1 million came up. Everything that can help you make $1 million came up. Everything that can have you on the fence about what $1 million would look like and how you would use it came up. You didn't pay attention to none of the signs. Why? Because our expectancy was, I want to make $1 million, but it's the work behind it. It's removing the limitations. It's removing the filters to attach to that frequency. $1 million is a different frequency. $1 billion is a different frequency. It's not the physical byproduct of the $1 million that I'm trying to tap into. It's the mindset. It's the mindset and the mentality that I'm trying to interface with myself. That is the $1 million that I'm trying to tap into. That's me manifesting. That means everything that a millionaire, everything that I've seen or I've read about a millionaire, what millionaires do, those are some of the things that I'm going to start emulating. Millionaires wake up like one of the greatest books. I cannot remember the name of that book. Never saved my life. But one of the biggest things that's in almost every millionaire, how to become a millionaire book is what time you wake up. Is what time you wake up. How early are you waking up in your day? I wake up at 4:30 every fucking day. So that's the first stint of me becoming a millionaire. The first time, now I did this 3 years ago, the same mindset 3 years ago, and I'm gonna give you this is the correspondence of how it didn't work the first time and what I learned and how I'm learning now. 3 years ago, no, about 4 or 5 years ago, I did the same thing. I wake up at 4:30. I didn't know what the fuck to do. I woke up at 4:30 and I just sat there, laid there in bed. I picked up my phone. I went through my normal motions, picked up my phone, looked at it. All right, it's 4:30. Hup, now it's 4:45. Now it's 5 o'clock. It's been 30 minutes and I ain't done shit. All right, cool. It's been an hour. I ain't done shit. All right, cool. I guess I'm going to turn back over and go back to sleep. As opposed to now, there's a difference. Your inspiration should never be the byproduct. You should not be aspiring for the $1 million byproduct. That's going to come naturally. You should not be aspiring to, I want to get this. I want to get this right here. That you shouldn't be aspiring for the byproduct. What I had to learn how to tap into was the creation process of what I was bringing, what was making me get up. And I had to go outside of that emotional aspect. I had to define these emotional aspects of the original reason I wanted to be a millionaire was to get my mom a house, and we want to get our mother's houses. We want to do shit for people. We want to not have the life that we had, provide for our children the way we never wanted to have for them. All of these aspects. But in the reality to it, all of those are byproducts of me anyway. So I have to address the why I had to address the why within myself to come to a point of like when I wake up at 4:30, I have to have a plan first. That means I got to put the thought into motion. It's a nice thought, but that thought cannot be based on feeling. Because I read this book, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just took that and ran with it, but I didn't have nothing to do at 4 o'clock. And I didn't have nothing to do at 4 o'clock because my thought processes were still the same, still in my subconscious. Now, instead of me waking up at 8 o'clock thinking like, damn, it's the 28th and I got to pay rent. Now I'm waking up at 4:30 having these same exact thoughts. I just woke up earlier to engage the thoughts earlier. That's all I did. So I woke up at 4:30 like, damn, I still got to pay bills. Damn, I got to be at work at this time. Damn, I got to do this. Damn, I got to do this. So I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. So then I'm like, this shit don't work. That shit don't work. That shit don't work. So more negative self-talk on top of that, because I already had the thoughts in there that was based on where I was trying to stay comfortable, being comfortable. But being in comfort, I had to first define that comfort wasn't about being good or bad. You can tell somebody, yo, you look real comfortable right there. I ain't comfortable, man. I'm struggling. You look real comfortable and struggle. Because what are you doing to change it? What are you doing to advance? Comfort is based on settling and that's being stagnant in that space. Comfort is only based in being stagnant and settling inside of that space. If a chick get hit inside the head every fucking Thursday and her man give her money on Friday, she goes shopping on Saturday And then Monday, she worrying about Thursday. She's comfortable. As messed up as it seems, as crazy as it looks, she's comfortable. Now, someone will be like, she ain't comfortable, she's scared. She's comfortable. Because she's comfortable. She's receiving something from that based on something emotionally bound that she's emotionally bound to. She's emotionally bound to something. As long as I'm emotionally bound to something, I'm always going to demonstrate I'm always going to demonstrate or search for some form of comfort within that bounds, within those limitations. So as long as I was waking up at 8 o'clock, I had a reason to wake up at 8 because I had to be at work at 9 or I had to be at work at 9:30. As long as I could look at my phone or look at the watch or look at the clock on the wall, waiting for it to be 4 or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever time I was getting off work, I had something to inspire me to get off work. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to get off work at 4. I wasn't doing anything after I got off work. But I always had this emotional inspiration. I always had something in my external environment to give me that inspiration. So my discipline or my consistency was only as great as our consistency is only based as great as our emotions are. You got to let that shit open all the way up. I talked about it in the podcast. You keep getting a little bit mad. You keep getting a little bit upset. You keep getting a little bit mad, upset. You got a little bit of happiness. You got a little bit of love or whatever it may be. If somebody's making you a little bit upset, they're really making you they're making you a lot of bit upset. You just have not admitted that they're triggering you a lot. What are they triggering? What aspect are you not? You keep letting that come into your space. What keeps coming out? Have you mastered what comes into your space? Once you master what comes into your space, the next point is you mastering what goes outside of your space. That's your cycle. So if I master what comes into my space in a daily from 4:30 a.m., so I'm mastering what comes into this vessel, this avatar, from everything that I learned in the astral realm, whatever questions, what meditation music I was listening to, what affirmations I was listening to, and now I'm up at 4:30, allowing myself to come back, allowing myself to settle back into the body. Now it's 5 o'clock. Now I'm out of bed. Eyes still closed. I roll straight up out of bed and I'm in my I'm sitting there and I'm meditating. I meditate every day from 5 a.m. to 5:15, about 5:15, 5:16. Sit there. Allow myself to bring everything into that space. I'm up from that point, getting ready for the gym, putting my pre-workout formula together, shaking everything, make sure my bag's packed. I went and let the car warm up. I'm doing everything that I need to do within my space. Everything I need to do. I'm setting up, if I need to set up the office space for when I'm doing all the videos. Set up, if it's Monday, I'm setting up for the podcast as well. I'm doing all of this shit between 5:30 and probably almost 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I take my pre-workout formula in, ride to the gym, get my music playlist, everything together in the car. Everything that I'm doing now has a purpose. The main key to you tapping into that higher aspect of yourself is everything that you create now has a purpose. Everything that you allow to come into your space now has a purpose. It's not just based on basic conversation. Everything that I do is not based on the mannerisms and emotions. You're going to start noticing, like, if you've ever noticed when you have a conversation with certain people, the conversations are different based on where you're at within that space. You ever listen to somebody have a conversation and you can tell them, for example, you tell somebody like someone asks you, what did you do in the day? And you tell them what you did in the day. And then the next question they ask, like, so was your day good? What? I was asking, was your day good? Yeah. This is what I did. I showed you what I did in the day. It's like it's this social cue aspect in people's minds now. You're gonna notice that motherfuckers have certain social cues that they're still stuck with them based in how they disperse their energy, based on that old construct. I'm an androgynous being. I'm an ancient one. So my conversations are now different based on going back to how I started my day. I started my day building up an intensity. So everything that I'm going to do now that I'm fully engaged, because I woke up at 4, by the time I'm actually in front of people, I'm fully engaged. I'm fully intense. And now I can ride this wave. I ride my high of my natural inspiration to myself in that space and ride that through the day. I don't need something outside of me to give me anything or I'm in need of anything. If anything, when stuff comes into my space, it's enhancing me. It's giving me something to add on to. It's no longer any weight. It's no weight of anything. Maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I should wait to do that, or they gave me this conversation. If it's not beneficial, I can actually be like, you know what? Later on, we can have that conversation because right now I'm working on this. I can be honest with myself. I can be honest inside of every space that I go into because I have no need or want. Therefore, there's no ulterior motive. Therefore, there's no way for something to tap into me. Nothing can use something that's not there, that's not present. I'm not visible anymore to a lot of things. When we come into this space to this, you're becoming invisible to old aspects. The only reason things still trigger you is because you're still visible. Your light that you're now projecting is going into that space, and you haven't defined what comes back to it. So you get stuck. And a lot of us get stuck in this conversion, trying to convert people and make everybody see it our way. I'm past that. That's going to be a major key that you got to get past. You have to get past this point of always trying to put people in a position that they're not ready for. You have to be comfortable with being like, you know what, you can't come with me. I remember having I remember going to fucking like in the beginning, like when I was doing real estate classes and shit, or meetings and networking in that aspect and stuff. And I remember somebody said that they wanted to come with me. I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna send you the information. I'm gonna let you know when the next one is. Cool, you can come with me. When I told them, like, all right, cool, I'm about to get ready to go now. They were like, yo, I gotta go home. I gotta get dressed. I gotta do all of this, and this. I was like, yo, I told you 3 weeks ago that the meeting was today that we're going to. Man, but you know we had to work. Like, yeah, I know we had to work. But since I knew I had to work, I went and had that conversation with my boss, was like, yo, this is what's happening. I have to go to work. I got this meeting I'm going to. So that's why I said, could I switch my schedule around? And you said, nah, I ain't with that. I was like, I really don't care what you were with. These tickets have been paid for me to go out of town on this trip. Unless you're going to pay me the $3,000 that I spent on this trip, unless you're going to throw me back the 3 bands, I'm leaving now. But now I need you. I told you about this investment more than 3.5 months ago. You always telling us, be prepared, line yourself up. I line myself up perfectly. Motherfuckers were willing to come to work. You didn't want them to come to work because you don't like them for whatever. That ain't got shit to do with me. I'm leaving. You gotta have to become comfortable with stepping outside of that zone to be able to say the shit that you need to really say. Is not based, and this is the key. This is one of the major keys that I had to learn. It's not based on you feeling challenged to have to say something. This is one of the major things that when you're understanding coming into your process, stop trying to go into these spaces with yourself of trying to feel like you got to prove something to any other person other than yourself. Stop feeling that you have to challenge others, that you have to, if somebody's saying something or looking at you or whatever, they looking at you some type of way, they whispered or said something about your ass, it don't fucking matter. You know why you're there. The only thing that stops you is you don't know why you're there. I remember being at my jobs and we'd be getting upset with motherfuckers for looking at me the way, if I said something or did something, and I felt like I really felt like I had to like say something. Man, you got to defend yourself. Ego on my shoulder. Like, you got to defend yourself. They talking cash shit about you. And then I was like, in my mind, I'll be like, why? But I wasn't asking myself why. I was sitting there just trying to ignore it. It's not phasing me. It's not phasing me. Even though that shit was triggering me, I kept looking at them, and I'm like, why did I had to define within inside of myself? Like, I really had to be first honest with myself, and that becomes one of the major keys. Is like, these niggas don't pay me. These are the reason that I gotta do, the reason that I'm doing the work that I'm doing at the level that I'm doing is because they don't do any work. It's because they don't do any work. They're not doing what they need to do. They're not doing what they're supposed to say. They're stuck on basic ass shit or social cues of, ooh, there's a game on. I'm gonna go see our boys play. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, every time a motherfucker always said it, even when I thought about it to myself, I was like, my team. I would say things like, ooh, my team. But the only reason that I like the Giants is because my pops was from New York. I was raised in New York. So I guess it was a basic ass reason. It was a basic ass cue. So after a point, it was like, I'm not making any money from the team. I'm not getting anything from this space unless I make a bet or something. But other than that, it's really not doing anything for me. Man, you don't know how to have fun. I was like, what? Because you're confusing the emotional back and forth with fun. I have fun all the fucking time. I'm a whole fucking creator. I can create fun. I can create fun at my whim in that space. But when you get stuck on this external aspect outside of yourself to set the tone for everything that you do, you become one track minded. You want everything to come through this one channel. You want everything to come through this one stream. So you never truly create anything to hold that $1 million. What in your life, if you want $1 million, $10,000, $40,000, how much money you wanting? What in your life, what in your space have you created to be the conduit in this physical realm? You got the mirror up front. You didn't burn candles, got all the other shit. But the work that you're doing in the physical brings that into that space. How are you making? How do you think you're going to make $1 million? What does $1 million look like to you? What is your definition of $1 million? What does $1 million look like? You got to build that shit in your subconscious. And as you build it in your subconscious, the things that are naturally going to come up in your space are going to be the challenges of $1 million. Your mother asks you for money every fucking Sunday. Your sister asks you for money every fucking Tuesday. Your brother come through and asks you for money every fucking Friday. Everybody asks you for money. And now that's where your $1 million is at. Your $1 million is in everybody that's about to ask for money. So the first thing you got to address that came up is telling your mother that you ain't got it. Tell her why you ain't got it. Telling your brother, your sister, you ain't got it. That's the putrefaction. This is the example of putrefaction. Because from what you are now speaking, it's going to cause something putrid to happen. The catastrophe to happen, the chaos to happen. Because now it's going to cause a chaos inside of that space. That whole circle they don't get together like, oh, they uppity, they ain't coming over no more. They don't want to bring no money. They ain't gonna let me. They're not gonna say what they truly want to say, but they're always gonna say everything around it. Oh, that motherfucker stuck up now. Let them think what the fuck they want to think. You have a purpose. You have an assignment. You have lessons. As you becoming that alchemist, you gotta allow this putrid shit to happen. The waste of the old relation, the waste of the old friendship. That's the putrid that you about to build from. The waste of the family members that still are in an aspect of need. That's what you're building from. That's what you're what's the word? That's what you're concentrating the grounds with for you to do your works. That's the ashes that you're working with. Not the illusionary process of, not this illusion. If we kill the white man, then that nigga's the furthest refractory point of your shit. What you're truly having to destroy are the checks and as you're bringing yourself into these checks, understanding these checks and balances, you have to understand that the family that you came in here with is karmic, they're all aspects of your karmic debt. Your friends and everybody in that space, they're all aspects of they're the accounts of the karmic debt, the trauma, the events. But when you get stuck in this masochist mindset, you like that pain. You like that pain. You like that. You like for a motherfucker. I like motherfuckers hate on me. Can let me know that I'm doing right. All right, cool. So if nobody's hating on you, are you still doing right? You accepted it outside of a social norm. So if a bunch of motherfuckers do like you and nobody doesn't hate you, then you get stuck in that swoop of, I guess I'm not doing everything that I need to do. I haven't pushed the envelope yet. That's what that would teach me. If I have a bunch of people sitting there looking at me and I'm dependent upon this motherfuckers liking me, then everything that I would say would automatically be biased. If everything that I'm trying to speak on is based on motherfuckers hating me, then everything's going to be on a bias. You live in that state. We live in that state of bias with ourselves, and then we wondering why we can't seem to advance because we still have biases in play. We still have social cues that we trying to maintain in our identities. We don't want to go too far. Is that yes? I got to maintain this look, and then now the most dangerous part of this is you changing your outcome it's like every time you look, like we've heard about, like every time you look at the future it changes. This aspect is based on every time you look at the future it changes. That the wave particles change based on what your emotional, how you're dispersing your energy into that space. So if I look at something based on when I'm happy, it's going to look different. If I look at something based on when I'm sad, upset, whatever, depressed, it's going to look different. Every time I look at my future, every time I look at my current situation, it's only based on the emotional, what I've emotionally allowed myself to be locked in. So I can never, so me waking up at that 4:30 4 years ago, me looking at 4:30 on the clock, it was dreadful for me because I was like, man, I gotta be up at 8 o'clock. I gotta pay bills. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta do this. I had to re-engineer my whole thought process. So like I'm waking up at 4 o'clock to do something. What am I going to do at 4 o'clock? Whatever I do at 4 o'clock is going to affect my 8 o'clock. So the impact that I first start with at 4 o'clock that impacts my 8 o'clock is only going to be reflected in my 8 o'clock. It's going to be reflected in that aspect of my quality. Whatever I'm doing inside of my space now, in my world, my environment, is going to be the impact or the points of now intersection into my life, intersecting into me, tapping into me, of the true aspects of me. Remember, you're always in the proximity to be lost or found. Once you find yourself, you can start mastering yourself. Until you find yourself, until you take that path to find yourself, you're always going to be in this state of being lost. You're always going to come right back around to that same circle of, I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling lost. I don't know what I'm doing. There's just so many thoughts and emotions. There's so many things that I want to do. Do you want to do those things? Who wants to do those things? Why do you want to do those things? If it's not based on comfort, you should be able to give yourself a real good definition. If it's based on comfort, it's going to be predestination social cues. It's going to be the Miss America pageant where you're saying what you think needs to be said in order for it to fit. Now you're doing everything inside of your environment in this contracting environment is on that frequency. So this is why you won't see. All you're seeing is conflict and motherfuckers fighting and arguing with themselves because you fighting and arguing with your damn self. It's all the illusion of yourself. You always find yourself going over to somebody. You always find yourself going to the same places every day when you get off work or every day when you go somewhere. And at the end of the week, what did you learn? What did you what was mastered in that space? Man, I was just trying to have fun. No, you were trying to avoid some shit. You had to be honest with yourself. I remember going through them states of avoidance with myself. And I called me avoiding things, I called being fun. Go out. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Why? Why was I out that late? Because I was having fun. No, I'm avoiding some shit. And I'm out with other people that are avoiding some shit. So it feels like, okay, everybody's avoiding some shit. So we all having fun. But I have this false ass definition of what fun is. Because now I'm thinking that in order to have fun, that means I got to sacrifice. Why? So you gave yourself a biased ass purpose. You're still living in the two different spaces of yourself. You're not integrating. Because the moment that you start feeling bad about what you did the night before, that goes into the shadow. That goes into the shadow. That goes into that shadowy space along with every other thing that you just keep pushing into the shadows. Everything that you really need to get in tune with keeps going into the shadows. And it comes back out as the urges. It comes back out as the addiction. It comes back, it just keeps coming back out and keeps showing itself as something else inside of your space. It keeps coming as the next bullshit ass relationship you get in. It keeps coming out as the next bullshit ass job you getting into. It keeps coming out as the next protest that you want to go to. It keeps coming out as the next person, the next Breonna Taylor getting shot. That's what keeps coming out of the shadow. And it just keeps showing itself, becoming more and more dense, more and more greater, based on you not dealing with the original catalyst of emotion. You need it based on the lack mindset. The lack mindset is the misogynistic complex. You need struggle. You feel like you need struggle. You need lack. You need to have your back up against the wall. But if my back's always against the wall and the wall's nothing but my shadows, everything that I've not dealt with is on this wall. I painted an entire mural behind me. That's what everybody's looking. That's what everybody's pulling energy from. They don't understand any of this shit. Because I haven't accepted any of this shit. So the only way that they can get into this energy, even if they were created from this, is through me. As long as I'm visibly always wanting to be my back against the wall, everybody's going to know me as that. But if I stop being against the wall and actually turn around and be like, let me look at this wall real quick and see what the fuck's on it. Now, everything that I had to face at this first point that I truly have to face, now it's in front of me. I turn around, look at the wall. All the shit that I've built up in my life is on this fucking wall. Let me look at my life real quick. Let me assess my life real quick. This is going to be that based on that feeling when you feel like you turning your back on people. You got to look at your wall. You got to look into your shadow. That's when you're going to start feeling the extreme guilt. You feel like you're turning your back on people. You feel like motherfucking like he turned his back on us. No, I didn't. You're right. I did turn my back on you. I did turn my back on you. Because there was no reason or purpose for me to keep my back. Yes, I did turn my back on you. But before I turned my back on you, I told you I appreciate and I love and I apologize. And I thank you for everything that you shown me. I thank you for everything that you shown me. You brought to the surface the lessons that I've learned in dealing with you. I respect you for where the fuck you at. I respect you for where you at. I'm not here to change you. I'm not here to make you do anything that you are not ready to do for yourself. I'm not here for that. But for me, in order for me to go forward, I gotta activate this destruction protocol. I gotta really be mindful what I'm bringing into my space right now. It can't be no more of this. I want to march and protest based on this. Everybody's in that B mindset, and I'm trying to get into my alpha mind. I'm trying to dip into the higher aspects of myself. My higher self don't see what the fuck the purpose of that is. That's the true aspect of you. I'm gonna give you something trippy about the truest aspects of yourself. The truest aspect of myself was the weirdest shit that I like doing anyway. The things that were predetermined as weird and motherfuckers didn't want to say out loud and bring into certain spaces. Something as simple as a TV show that you like to watch that nobody else really watched. Like for me, back in the days, late night television, I think one of the shows that I used to watch was Frasier all the time. I don't know why I like Frasier. Frasier was he was a funny ass dude. Frasier was a funny ass dude. Like Seinfeld. I liked all them shows. It was just something to watch. It was something it was something for me to watch. It was really different for me. Something different. It wasn't something that I was used to seeing. These were certain aspects of my true identity, my true authentic self that I wouldn't share in certain environments. So since I wasn't sharing that in certain environments, that would go into the shadow. Those are some of the aspects that go into your shadow. These are some of the aspects that go into that dark space. The things that you rejected about yourself. So now you create a corresponding avatar identity to match this frequency of that energy. So now you're still doing it. You're still using this energy, but you're using it to maintain a certain identity. how many identities do you have? How many identities have you tried to maintain your entire fucking life? I went and looked back at pictures of myself last week. I looked at like old pictures of myself through my old phones and old pictures of myself, and I was like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did this. Can't believe I did that. But I really just started looking at the pictures, and I was like really thinking about where I was at that point in time in my life. Really looking at the pictures. I was like, damn, my smile was fake in this picture. My smile was fake in this picture. I looked hurt in that picture in my eyes. I really started like removing these points. That's looking at, going back and looking at them. It wasn't from a space of experience. It was now based on observation. I could look at it, be like, damn, I'm not this person anymore. Throw it away. Damn, I'm not this person anymore. Throw it away. Damn, that's not me anymore. Throw it away. After a while, this is what you're doing when you're going into your shadow work. You're accessing the old aspects of yourself, not to get rid of them, not to get rid of them. You're getting rid of the shame, the guilt, the lack, the insecurity, the jealousy. You're addressing the emotions that made that body visible. Because once you address the light, the frequency that made that visible, now you have control over it and you can make it go away. So now that this now is invisible in this space, I am now visible in this space. I am now I now understand what being omnipresent is. I know that if I go into this space, I'm seen this way. And if I'm going in this space, I'm seen this way. In order for me to separate from being seen in two different waveforms, because that's going to be regardless, it isn't about me being seen in different ways. It's about you being able to understand the point of the focus of how motherfuckers are looking at you. Because until you do that, you're always going to, but if I don't say this or if I don't do this, then people are they're going to look at me weird. And then this is what's going to drive you being nervous or scared to do some new shit or building that consistency with yourself. It's this old shit coming to the surface. Is this an older aspect of you coming to the surface? It's something that you ain't dealt with yet. There's no limitations in my life now. No one can tell me anything about, yo, I don't see how you do everything that you do. I had a conversation the other night and was like, how can you do everything that you do inside of a day? Discipline. Gave them the entire breakdown. They were like, damn, that must have seemed easy for you. Like, nah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was a fucking ego death after ego death. It was a very wild ass ride tapping into that. My old self would have been like, yeah, it was easy, I guess, because I would have still been trying to like this fear aptitude still would have been present. I didn't want to tell them the full truth. I didn't want to dishearten them from something. No. All this, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, or the kids aren't ready for this, or maybe I can't say this. You're just telling yourself that you're not ready for it. You're not ready for the chaos that's going to be ensued. As a chaos being, you ever wonder why you don't like shit to stay normal for too long and you like chaos? Because you are of chaos. But when you haven't defined what chaos is in your life, if you have not understood that chaos is simply the aspect of everything in continuous motion, you're going to look at chaos like it's bad. You're going to look at chaos like it's calamity. Oh my God, they're destroying some shit. Shit got to get destroyed. Shit got to be thrown away. Shit got to be, you got to tear shit down. You got to remove shit. You got to stop doing certain things in your life. You got to stop moving in this mindset that you got to stop moving in that old fucking material mindset, thinking that you're going to get anything new inside of that space. Everything that you're doing inside of that old space, you ain't going to get shit out of, period. Until you assess the space that you in. But we can become so one-track minded and like, if I get this, then it's okay. Because you're trying to make everything happen through your old identity. You're trying to make everything happen through the old self. You're taking in all this information and you trying to make it work in your old self. It ain't meant for your old self. If it was meant for your old self, there would be no need to take in the information. It would already be present. It's already present. But your old self, the old projection of yourself, through the traumas, through the events that have happened, is lack mindset. It's built in lack. It's built with a handicap. It's built inherently flawed. It's built to be changed. It's built to be destroyed. Automatically, your old self was built to be destroyed. Everything that you do down here on this level, from going to the gym to everything that you do, is based on fucking destroying yourself. Anyway, naturally, the natural motion is to destroy something. Everything down here is bits. Everything that you got to do to yourself first, you got to first take some shit apart. Take simple example of you opening up a box. In order for you to get inside the box, you got to break the seal. That's a chaotic event. That's a traumatic event. Me working at a fucking grocery store and throwing up shit on shelves, nigga, I was in a constant state of repetition. Traumatic, an isolated traumatic event. Because trauma, when we take ourselves out of that aspect of trauma being bad or good, and we understand trauma is a necessary point of that process, now we can actually process it. You can't process trauma or chaos on a bias. You can't process your learning process on a bias, because all it's doing is filling up the other side. You have to see it openly. You have to be able to see the space openly in order to be able to take the information in full. Or else you're just going to be filling up one side of the space. That's why you got motherfuckers talking about Jesus ain't real. Okay. We've established Jesus isn't. We established Jesus was a created deity. We had established where he came from. We established all that shit. But I'm not stuck on the imagery anymore. Nigga, I am Jesus. I am the Christ. What's next? Now we have disclosed and have the information. How are you going to apply it to your life now? What are you like? What's the next step? What is this doing? How is this? All right, cool. We had this conversation about your girl went to All-Star Weekend and was out there with like 50 other, with all her homegirls, and all her homegirls is hoes and whatever. Okay, cool. What you about to do now? Man, but I love her. You don't love her. You don't love her. She's my heart. She's my everything. Nigga, you don't love her. He's my heart. He's my everything. Sis, you don't love him. If he's your heart, then where's your heart? If that's the definition of your heart, then you got some shit that you got to address. If you gave somebody access to you on that level, oh, that's my heart. Hey, that's my heart. Okay, cool. That means everything that they do is something that you have to disclose and understand in your heart. If you've given them the rights to be in your heart, you giving them the rights to be in aspects of you, cool, that's your heart. That's the love of your life. That's this, that's that. Okay, cool. That is your life. Okay, cool. That's your lifeline. Cool. That's great. That's full. That's cool. Now you must define the intention of your heart. That becomes the harder part. We're inspired by things externally based on this emotional aspect. But when there's no more need for the emotion to be angry, to be mad, to be upset, where do you go from there? This is one of the biggest things that happens to us, especially in the community. In this aspect of the community, it's like if the emotional aspect isn't there to keep you driven, then what do you do next? What do you build? If there's no reason, if I build a school, if I build a building and a school for whatever I build it for, my inspiration should be based on for myself. On the first primary aspect of myself is everything that I do is based on the quality and the value that I value inside of myself. Everything else is secondary because everything else is a reflection of that point. Now that I've created this primarily this space for myself to create and fill so I can remain in the cycle of being empty. So I'm always filling that space with this transformation because I'm speaking from a space of transformation. I'm speaking from a space of being healed. I'm speaking from that space of being in love with myself. I'm speaking from that space of being in unity with myself. Now everything else now everything else has what I call these entry points. Now everything outside of me now has entry points. I'm gonna use my works as an example. Use my works as an example. Everything that I do now that I'm working within my purpose, there's an entry point into tapping in and getting to me. There's an entry point. I've defined the entry points. It's not based on emotion. It's not based on you're going to get to me based on emotion, love, whatever it is, these basic necessities, defining those inside of myself. Now when I'm inside of a space, everything has an entry point. If somebody was like, yo, I listened to the podcast, but I want to set up an appointment. I have an entry point for that. Now I have the podcast, and this interweave that I've weaved, this web that I've weaved, everything has an entry point that comes back to me. Everything, I've acknowledged all of the reflections of myself. When we move outside of ourselves based on the emotional content and we disperse our energy into the space, everything becomes important in that space based on the emotional containment that I need to experience in that space. So now when I'm feeling lost or I'm feeling out of place or I'm feeling low, I got individuals that I can go look at, go talk to, watch World Star, go on social media and look at motherfuckers looking better than me in this space as an example, looking better than me to be like, damn, at least I'm not like them. Or if I'm feeling a certain type of way about something that's going on in my life, I have a correspondence outside of myself to keep me reacting the same way that I'm always reacting. Now I can stay in this constant state of reaction because there's somebody that needs me. I can't leave them because they need me. I talked about it in the podcast. They're always going to fucking need you. Until you define the needs of yourself, they're always going to need you. They're always going to need you. Always. Your job always is going to need you until you define yourself into a higher level of yourself. You can't, your job is going to need you. Think about it like this. Your job's going to need you to come in and do some work. But the moment that you sit there and say the moment that you come to the table and you're like, I want to get a raise, the first thing they're going to tell you is, the hour, it's crazy right now. We'll talk about it later. But if you come to the table, I remember going to the table, always saying I wanted to get a raise, promotion, and a raise and shit. But when I said I wanted a promotion, yeah, they still try to play their game. I want to do the promotion thing. I want to carry the keys and do truck orders and shit. All right, cool. All right, be here at 5. All right, bet. Be here at 5. Cool. Show up to the job I'm at the job at 4:45. Sitting out there waiting. Damn, you here early. Like, yeah, you said be here at 5. I figured you'd be here early. All right, cool. In order for you to move forward, you got to make that step outside of your comfort zone. You got to make the step outside of your comfort zone. I'm outside of my comfort zone at all times. So that waking up at 5 o'clock for my job for something on an external narrative, I now turned that inwards into it being a reason that I had to wake up at 5. Mastering the mechanics of waking up in at 5 and going in there doing inventory, doing the truck order or whatever. That was one part. That's the physical aspect that I mastered. What I truly had to master was the emotional aspects that allowed me to go inside of that space. I had to acknowledge my behavior had to change in order for me to maintain that space. That means when I'm removed from it, yeah. That means when that was removed from my space, now it was like, okay, cool. I ain't got to be there at 5 o'clock anymore. I mastered that into something else. Now, instead of me sitting there in that space being like, okay, I've been doing this for a couple of weeks, couple months. What was stopping me was me getting comfortable again. What stops us a lot of times is us becoming comfortable again because we're still stuck in that state of completion. Ooh, I got the promotion at my job. They're letting me come in a little bit earlier to do some extra shit. I guess that's my promotion. What would stop my decline in my promotion was like, wait, they ain't paying me no more. Let me go in and tell them, yo, I need to get some more money since I'm coming in at this point. You think I should get paid more when we're giving you more hours? That's not paying me more because now I'm coming in earlier and I'm staying, well, and then they give you that whole speech of, yeah, you know, you coming in earlier, you showing that responsibility. Yeah. But I want to, in order for me to do more, all right, cool. Bet. I'm going to come in earlier. After a while, me being in this state of staying in that space, staying comfortable, not challenging it, at the end of my shit, at the end of the week, when hours got really, really low, they'd be like, yo, you got to leave. You know, you can't. So now my hours are being cut on this side and now being elongated on this side. So I was stuck in the same space. I was making the same amount of money. I was just coming in earlier. Nothing changed. Nothing changed inside the space. Because I was only appealing. You only can appeal to the limitations within inside of that certain space. You only can appeal to the limitations within inside of that space based on that level of comfort. You got comfortable because now you came in early and now you leaving a little bit earlier. Now you got more time to bullshit and you didn't change your navigation. You're not learning in the space that you're always in the space that you need to be in. The reason that you're not advancing is because you haven't learned the lesson within that space. The reason it keeps repeating is because you ain't learned that lesson. We mastered being the struggle of slaves. Okay, cool, that's fine. But now it's time for the next level for yourself. What are you going to master now? That's why I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. We've been getting to that LLC mentality, that ownership mentality, accountability and responsibility for yourself. Outside of the narrative, outside of that old narrative of the old identity. I'm going to give my kids whatever they never had. I'm going to get everything I never had. You still within the limitation. You're now defining your limitations. The only reason that you're doing something is because you didn't get it at this point. You're still coming from a point of lack. You're not activating the destruction protocol because you're not really destroying anything. You're just moving some shit around. last month you did this month you did this. But you didn't change anything. You just moved some things around. You allow something to become dormant and you allow something to become active. The point is you're allowing everything to turn the fuck on. You have to turn everything on. It's like literally it's like going into your house and turning all the lights on and saying, fuck the bill about to be high. The bill's gonna need to be high because that's gonna be that trigger. So that means you're going into that space, you gotta allow yourself to be fully on, fully open to the space. Submit to the attributes of that space. Allow yourself to be triggered by everything that's going on in that space. Give yourself the space to sit there with yourself and be like, yo, I've been doing this for this long. And it's not getting me anywhere. I remember back in 2016, I made this much. And now every time that I still do this, I only get this much. That means I got to apply more to. No, that means that shit ain't working anymore. The only reason that worked, what were you at? Where was your mindset at when you first got what you got in that point? Where was your mindset at? What was around you? What were you dealing with? Those are going to be the keys to you understanding why that shit worked back then and why it ain't working now. What did you disperse when you did that? That affected your consistency of your energy. You created these anchoring points in your life. A lot of us create these anchor points in our life, not just off kids, but you create anchor points in your life. Shit that allows you to go to it that's always going to be stuck. There's anchor points all around you in your fucking life. That bum ass friend that you get upset with every other week. That argument that you are waiting to have with your mother. But in the reality, you can say, yo, I hate my moms. But if somebody were to call you right now and say your mom's was in the hospital, she fell down some stairs, you gonna feel some shit. You gonna feel some type of way. You gonna have a feeling. You got to discuss that feeling with yourself. Why? Even though your mother, you said every fucking day your mother wasn't shit. Why are you feeling that way about your mother right there? Because that connection is still there. You have to discuss this connection with yourself. You have to discuss that connection with yourself. No matter whether she was good or bad, you got to be able to accept that bad aspect that you want to demon under, the bad things that she did that put you in those bad things didn't put you in the position that you're in. You did. They were a catalyst to where you're at, but you got to accept that you're still haven't accepted these things and you're still using these as the point of everything that you're doing. That's why it's still there. That's why you still having that feeling. How true is the feeling about your mother? How true is the feeling about your father, your baby father, whoever it is? How true is this feeling outside of the bias? Because at a point in time, there was a connection made there. Or better yet, it was an attachment that was made there, corresponding to where you at now. Without that happening, you wouldn't be where you're at. I'd be better off without, okay, cool, whatever the fuck you think. But it was a lesson that needed to be learned. That's why it came up. How you approached it is how your energy dispersed into that space. The things that you have a lack of love for yourself. Now you always in spaces where you looking for love. And you wonder, oh my God, why can't nobody love me the way I want to love them? You got to define that love in yourself. These motherfuckers don't respect us. Okay. They don't respect us. They don't respect us. They ain't gonna give us anything. Why you want them to give you some shit? What is the point of them giving you something? If they give you something, are you gonna stop? So that if they give you something, you're gonna stop complaining? No, because you're gonna find another reason to complain. You're gonna find another reason to bitch and complain about what they gave you. Case in point, niggas gave out $600, $1,200, little stimmy checks, unemployment, and motherfuckers still complain. Man, I can't live off $600. Nigga, who put you in the position to live? Who put you in the position that where you can live off $600? Who put you in that position? Man, the government put us in this position, man, by no. They were a part of the catalyst. They were only a reflection of it. But your lack of responsibility and accountability put you in the position that you in. That lack of you wanting to learn yourself is what put you in the position that you in. That need for that pain put you in the position that you in. That's why you ain't doing, that's why you can't go further than you need to go, because you worried about if I go too far, I'm gonna move away from the pain. There's a difference between acknowledging the pain and avoiding the pain. When you avoid the pain, one half of yourself is always stuck within the pain. That's why you avoid it. The avoidance is avoiding the part of yourself that's within the pain, avoiding the part of you that's within the trauma, avoiding the part of you that's in there. And since you're avoiding it in your shadow, you're looking for it inside that light. You're looking for it outside. You're looking for it everywhere except for where the fuck it is. And now you sitting there mad with yourself for what? People that don't understand me, man. I had to let that shit go. It wasn't a little bit of it. It wasn't just just a little bit of it. It wasn't just the parts that I didn't like. It was literally letting everything go. Letting everything go to a point to where my body and my energy was depleted. To where I was too weak to not only mentally deal, but physically stand. To physically operate. That point of letting go to allow your body to become at its weakest point, that's when you're going to be able to start building in that state of that. This is from the state of building in that state of that alchemy. Allowing yourself to allow everything to be let go, to be put out to be taken out of yourself, to be putting outside of your humanity, to really start looking at everything and start assessing it. It happened to us, but it happened to you before, or it happened to your ancestors before. But it was a part of that process. You needed that process in order to understand from the ground up. You ain't going to build nothing on your trauma other than what you built now. Most people are still building on their traumas. You just building on top of your trauma. The ancient Indian burial ground that the Amityville house was built on, or the Poltergeist house was built on. You just building on top of your trauma. You removed all the headstones, so you don't know what trauma's what. You don't know what emotional channel is what. And now you sitting in that space and you wondering why everything's happening inside of your space. Because you removed the capstones. You removed the capstones, but would not address what was underneath. A lot of us remove the capstone and we put something new in front. We put a tree on top of it. Yay. I put a gazebo on top of this shit. It looked really, really nice. Just to feel good for a couple of days, a year or so. But the true aspect of you tapping into yourself is initiating that destruction protocol and really starting to peel those layers back and be like, you know what? This is what I need to be working on. Instead of finding another fucking distraction. Because everything that you do outside of yourself is simply the byproduct. Everything that you tap into outside of yourself is simply a byproduct. It's simply a reflection. We get stuck in reflections. You get stuck in your reflections all the time. The most vain thought processes come to your mind. Some of the most vain thoughts come to your mind. At least I'm not like that. I can never. Your vanity is based on the aspects of this false sense of judgment of looking at everything. I never could do that. I'm not the beast. I'm not this. I would never do that. And you just give yourself, that's vanity. You stuck in this vain aspect of your life. So now you wondering why your life is in such a vain ass space. It's desolate. There's no substance. You wondering why you just going through the normal. So how was your day? My day was great. You look like a fucking Leave It to Beaver fucking a Leave It to Beaver sitcom. In your entire life, you just going through motions. If somebody doesn't say something to you, then you don't say something to them. Then you build your entire space based on something else fitting. You're giving yourself an excuse to live in a certain type of way. Give an example. You at your house. You keep your house clean or whatever. You allow people to come over to your house. You get in a fight with a chick at your house or a dude at your house or whatever. Someone gets in a fight at your house. You kick them out of your house. Shorty got in a fight at your crib and her weave is sitting over there in the corner in your house. Sitting over there in the corner in your house. Her weave, her shirt, all her shit over there in the corner in your living room. Okay. Why won't you? The excuse that you'll give yourself is, that's not my stuff. I'm not picking it up. You're giving people access to your energy when you do stuff of that nature in this example. So you mean to tell me that the reason that you will not pick up that shit off of your floor in your space is because it's not yours? So you're going to lay in wait, basically, for them to say they need their shit so they can come get it and come now bring that energy back into your space. Nothing is going to stop me from doing my necessities. If a fight is to break out at my house and some shit is left over here, 9 times out of 10, it's going into a bag and it's going outside of my door or it's going in the garbage. Somebody gonna be like, can't believe you threw my shit away. Man, your shit was at my house for 2 fucking weeks. It is not my shit. I treat it just like you see them signs that when you go to the gym, and it'll be like, we're not responsible for personal belongings. I'm not responsible for your personal messes. You got to be comfortable in saying that to motherfuckers. I'm not responsible for your personal mess. I'm only responsible for the shit I have to deal with. And you got to get comfortable with you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with the reaction that's going to happen. That reaction that's going to happen, that's what you're building from. As I just said, we were talking about earlier. That's what you're building from. Nothing in this space is meant to stay where it's at. You're not meant to stay where you're at all. You're not meant to stay where the fuck you at. The thing that has you stuck where you're at or can get you stuck where you're at is the emotional aspect that you have not tapped into. The behavior you're not afraid to let go of. The learning, the healing process that you really to tap into. The excuses that you keep making for yourself. Shit ain't gonna work no more. It been didn't work. The only reason that it worked was this false ass illusion of it working. Anything based on that bias is not meant for you. That's not you. It's never been you. That's not been an aspect of, that's not been an aptitude for you. You afraid of motherfuckers say that they love you, you feel like you owe them something because you were never used. What you had that you thought was love was manipulation. You're suffering from you're separating from that complex, that manipulation complex. You got to heal from that. You get upset if somebody doesn't take responsibility for something that's solely on your responsibility, your cue for you to do something. And you get upset with them because they didn't get you ready for something. It's not their responsibility to get you ready. It's not their responsibility to love you. It's not their responsibility to respect you. It's not their responsibility to provide the respect to you, to provide these aspects to you. It's not their responsibility. They're simply the reflections of your respect that you have for yourself, the love that you have for yourself. When you really have it, when you really have it, when you really define these aspects, you allow that destruction protocol to actually happen. You actually now start creating the entry points. The entry points aren't based on physical. There's no amount of money that somebody can throw at me to make me change or do something about what I'm doing right now. Ever. There's no external urge that needs to be met that somebody can use to in a state of manipulating how I move and how I act and what I do. That's you becoming dangerous. Once you tap into that true dangerous, that true chaos, that's you becoming dangerous. That's you becoming that monster. That's you becoming the true aspects of yourself. Because from that point, that's when you can start building. You can do it one of two ways. You can get everything you want where you at right now. Get everything you want where you at right now. But you will never enjoy it. You will never enjoy it. You can get everything that you are aspiring to get right now. I guarantee you. But you will never truly enjoy it. You will still feel the same way you felt without it, with it. You got to destroy that old aspect. You got to stop depending on that external narrative to set you into your space. You got to find it within yourself first. Stop trying to attach and start really connecting to the inside. I want you to be the fucking best. I desire you to be the best. But you got to address those behaviors. You got to address that behavior. You got to address these thought processes that got you stuck. You got to accept that separation is going to be needed. You're going to have to go through the process. That's one of the things that happens in the community, in this community. Motherfuckers ain't willing to go through the full process. It's still on, all right, cool, I'm going to wait for them to do this and them to do that and them to do that and them to do this. What are you doing while everybody else is doing everything else? While everybody else is making their moves, what are you doing? Waiting for other people to make their moves? Waiting for other people to react? So now you can make your move? You ain't going to go nowhere. You're going to be in the same space you in now next year. You're going to be in the same space you in now next year if you sitting there waiting for other people to make moves. Waiting for others to get their shit together. You're going to be in the same space. Waiting for others to get their shit together. Using that as your catalyst to why you do what the fuck you do. Because that's the reality of it. You like other motherfuckers to be in that lower state than you, so you can say that I'm doing something better than them. But if you're stuck in that space, that means there's somebody above you doing the same fucking thing. You repeat the cycle. You got to break the pattern. Got to break that cycle. Got to apologize to yourself. You got one or two choices. That's heal or evolve. You got one or two choices. That's heal or evolve. You got one or two spaces. That's either you're going to heal or you're going to evolve. You either going to go past that certain point, understanding yourself and understanding your design. You either going to stay in that space or you going to actually start creating some shit. You got a choice. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna end with these little. I got some announcements. Got some announcements we're gonna throw out. In the description is the flow page for all of the information for everything that from services, IG, follow, joining me on IG, joining me on TikTok, the podcast, all the information is on the flow page link. Tap into that. Sunday service will be back. If not this week, next week, I'm gonna start doing Sunday service again. What else are we doing? A lot of other things coming up on the fucking a lot of things coming out. I call Alchemy. I'm dropping the new clothes. I'm dropping the new clothing. We lit every night. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to get into. That's what I wanted to discuss. One of the biggest keys for me, I got it. Story time. This story time. I remember my beginning. I remember the beginning of my journey. And I've told this story before, but there was a different layer that I wanted to get into. I remember the beginning part of my journey, and I actually had the craziest part about your journey. The craziest part about your journey is you have multiple access points. You have multiple access points to start your journey, to start your work. Depending on where you are at is how you are going to tap into it. I say that to say this. I was homeless 3 times. 3 times. 3 times homeless. First time, I was stuck in fucking Tennessee somewhere. The second time, first time I was stuck in Tennessee somewhere. The second time I was stuck in Florida somewhere for a little bit. And the third time I was actually here. I was where I'm at now. 3 times, no place to go. The first time that I had to go through that cycle, the first cycle was acknowledging, I call it the aspects of me acknowledging the karmic debt that I sued. I had to go back and I had to fix relationships with my mother. There was things that I left unsaid, things that weren't done in that space. The second time I had no place to go, gone lost in Florida, it was because I was avoiding acknowledging these karmic debts, and I couldn't take it. And I ran away. ran away, ran to Florida, was in Florida, ended up coming right back to the same point to do the same lesson that I didn't learn the first fucking time, which led me to the third time. Every time that I started my path over, there was 3 cycles in this space, in this time. The reason that it was stopped was what I had to fucking learn. Every time I got to a certain point, I got comfortable. Every time I got to a certain point, I got comfortable. The first time, got comfortable, got a place, got a job, was doing really good in that space, got really comfortable, but then I started making the same exact mistakes. The same exact mistakes that I made the first fucking time. That led me to the third fucking time. The same exact mistakes that I didn't learn from. Same exact mistakes, same exact shit, led me to the third time. The reason that there would not be another time is because I learned those mistakes in that third time. Every time it was over waiting or this false sense of acceptance. It was all based on the mother aspect. I didn't accept my mother for who she was. I did not accept my mother. I did not apologize. I did not forgive my mother. I was still holding on to that voucher with my mother. And then I ended up just repeating that in all the relationships I was in. All my relationships went along that same line, trying to convert them into certain spaces, trying to bring them. I'm trying to teach you how to live life, but I have no example of it. It wasn't even about having the example. It was more into the space that I was trying to make them something that they weren't. They were only inspired to go to a certain point. I had to accept the point that they were aspiring to go to. That's one of the biggest things that happens to us inside of our spaces where we stay too long, is that we outgrow the space. You ever put on some shoes that don't fit and then you try to walk all day in them shits? That's basically what it's like. You walking around in the shoes that you walking around in clothes and in an outfit that don't fit you anymore. And now you're trying to maintain it. Your space is naturally going to push you out of it. Naturally. That's the inherently flawed space. Your job is naturally going to push you out of it. It's going to push you to a point to where you can't go back to it. That relationships, the cycle of the relationships, friendships, family ties, and all of these things, all of these aspects are going to push you out of them naturally. As you grow, as you progress, these things will be pushed out naturally. You're going to get pushed out of them naturally. They're going to look at you like you lost your damn mind. Let them look at you like you lost your damn mind. They're going to try to regurgitate what you said based on those social cues, because they're going to lose into that space. Funniest conversation that I've ever heard in my life. I remember when I was at my mother's house way back. Remember being at my mother's house, and I remember my sister and her boyfriend came in the house. Baby father, boyfriend, whatever the fuck he is, came into the crib. And I remember he was always, every time I saw him, I always saw the broken child in him. I didn't know what the fuck it was at this point in time. What I was see, I didn't embrace what I was seeing at the time. But I remember he had this whole conversation. He was like, everything that he said was like basically under the terms of you wouldn't be doing none of the stuff you were doing if it wasn't because of me. And then I remember in that moment, I really sat there and I was like, I've heard that shit before. Where did I hear it before? Fuck. That's the same shit our pops used to say to us when we were little. That's the same shit our parents used to say to us when we were little. You wouldn't be where you were at if it wasn't for me. And then I remember I would say these things, not say it out. It wasn't even to those same words, but I said this type of shit in my relationships. But it was based on the things that I was doing that were based on the necessities. I wouldn't say it. It would just be in my actions. So if I wasn't getting what I wanted, then I would stop doing what would be the necessity. I would stop doing the necessity type shit. So like this basic ass thought process in your mind, this is how most of motherfuckers live in the space. Well, I ain't gonna give you nothing if you ain't gonna give me anything. I'm not about that anymore. Now standing in the space that I'm in, there's no aptitude to have to do that. This is one of the major keys in that shit. It's like you gonna get to a point to where it's like you no longer feel the need to have to do or say anything. You allow it to do, you allow it to just be. You allow it to just happen as it's happening. If you invest your emotions into it, it's going to change it. So, of course, it's going to change into something to make you more comfortable. This is one of the biggest things that I had to tap into for myself, just going through my healing process to be where I'm at right now. That way, when I'm looking at things, I'm seeing things for what they actually are and not for what I want it to be. Because until you do that, you're going to be looking at fucking Biden dropped that $1.9 trillion for the stimulus relief package. And my mind first went to, I was like, wait, nigga, I thought we had like 30 trillion, billion, cajillion dollars in debt. So how did he sign a bill for that if we still got all that going on over there? Or they got all that going on over there? That sounds like a trick. That sounds like something I don't need to be involved with. But it's not to this space of, see, look, they're being good to us now, because that's what's going to keep happening. That's only the residual example of what's happening inside of your life. Motherfuckers is coming around you right now that seem like they've changed, and they're just regurgitating things that they're regurgitating the things that you once said to them, to you, to make you think that they learned some shit. I had to get out of that process of, the reason that I stayed in spaces too long is because they will repeat things that I said to them back in the day, and then my ass would sit there and be like, okay, cool, they got it, they repeated it back to me, now let me give them some more information. After a while, I would be sitting there with like, if they really understood what I said, what I spoke, what I did, then why do they keep repeating that over there? They don't get it. There's something that's not connecting inside of them. Because I'm doing it and it's working. They're not, there's something with them, not me. I had to move out of that barrier of, but I love yous and all of this shit. It was like, because that wasn't really love. The love that I got from my mother wasn't really love, because my mother never really received love. My mother received manipulation. My pops received manipulation. My father was the closest one to actually receive love, that gave me examples of fucking real love whenever I would go see my father in fucking New York for the fucking summertime, and then when I was living up there when I was going to fucking college. Underworld drugs and all that type of shit, but it was the realest, it was the truest form of love in its truest intent, because that wasn't based on something having to be done first. So in the worst situation, I saw the truest aspect in the dark, in that darkness. In that light aspect, all I saw was manipulation. So what did I emulate in my relationships? Manipulation. What did I emulate in my friendships? Manipulation. What did I emulate in my job? Manipulation. I didn't love my job. I was able to manipulate it to my own gain. I knew what to manipulate and how to move around it. You got to get out of that space. Get out of that mindset. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to be the fucking best. I desire you to be the best version of yourself. But it's going to take you actually doing that fucking work. It's going to take you actually being like, you know what? I need to sit down with myself and have that conversation. I don't know how to have this conversation. I really need to go have that conversation with somebody that's in that space. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's my purpose. All of the shit that you got, everything that you've done in the space that you in right now, that shit ain't gonna fuck it. You only gonna get what you getting in that space because how you built that space. You built your space based on the trauma. So now you built your whole life based in the trauma. And so, but you got to accept that. That's the acceptance. Once you accept that, there will be no limitations. You stop being one-sided. You stop being not one-sided. I want to change that. You stop being in this space with yourself of you stop being in this space with yourself of I'm going to do it this way until I get what I want from it. Because you don't need one anymore. Take that step back. Really tap into yourself. Really understand that you're going to have to destroy some shit, shut some shit down. You're going to have to discuss the flaws within inside of yourself because them flaws are your keys. You ain't bored. You just ain't changed up what you're doing. That's why you keep getting lost over and over and over. You keep getting lost based on that. You keep getting lost because you ain't changing anything. You want everything to remain the same. You feel like, yeah, I've healed, so everybody around me healed. No, they didn't. That's not for them. Your healing's not for them. Your advancement's not for them. Your growth is not for them. Stop making it for them and bring that shit into you. But yeah. I just want you to be the best. Yeah. Be the best. Find the inspiration inside of yourself by emptying yourself. Yeah. I'm gonna pull a card. I feel like pulling a card. Ooh. Yeah. You know how we always do it with that reading. In order for you to move forward, you got to let go of trying to hold on to everything else that made no sense because that shit don't work no more. You got to let go of this shit. The Five of Cups. Trying to keep hold that old aspect of yourself in place. Because all that shit is the illusion of that false sacrifice. It's time to make that sacrifice. You see how he's sacrificing his lower self? Sacrificing that lower aspect of yourself in order to tap into that rebirth. Destruction Protocol. Are you ready to press the button? Are you ready to press the button? If somebody in a black hood walked up to you and had a button in their hand, it said, press this button, you get $1 billion and somebody dies. What if that person was you? What if that person was you? Something to think about. I love you. We love us. See y'all next week.